Hello, Dr. Vikki Petersen here. I'm often asked how I got involved in the type of medicine that I'm involved with. You can call it functional medicine. We like to call it root cause medicine here at Health Now. And I thought I would start the new year with giving you that information, tell you my story. I grew up in a home where my mother had headaches pretty much all the time. She also passed out a lot from low blood sugar. And so this was kind of considered normal in my household. And when I went through puberty, I started doing the same thing. I started passing out from actually low blood sugar. So my mother at that point decided enough of that, and she took me to a nutritionist. And that was considered pretty radical in those days. But while this gentleman did not get involved in food sensitivities as we know now, he kind of just cleaned up our diet a bit. You know, I remember the Hawaiian punch left and the excess sugar left the home. So kind of some simple things, but it did make a big difference. So that was going through puberty, and then fast forward to high school and into college. I was pre-med in college. I was a molecular biology major, and basically since the age of 11 I wanted to be a doctor. I actually wanted to be a pediatrician, and as any good pre-med student does, during the summers I worked in local hospitals. I grew up on Long Island, so I did whatever they wanted me to help out. And as I felt better and stopped passing out, and my mother started to feel better as well, I asked doctors that I ran into, and I was like, well, what do you think of vitamins? And they said, oh, complete hogwash. You know, if you want expensive urine, take vitamins. So, you know, the thought was it did absolutely nothing. So, of course, today we know a lot better than that, although you'll, believe it or not, still occasionally hear that comment about the fact that they do nothing. But we know that's not true. And, of course, for me, I was confronted with the fact of how much better I felt and how much better my mother felt with a change of diet and adding nutrition. It was pretty demonstrable for us. So at that point, I was still in college and had my first actual experience with a chiropractor who, because I was playing a lot of tennis and I hurt my back. And I actually had a chronic back problem all through being a child. I was a figure skater, so, you know, double jumps and you fall down and you hurt yourself. And anyway, so it had sort of some chronic back pain that had lingered with me since early childhood. And so a friend took me to see a chiropractor who helped a lot, but I also didn't realize this individual was very into nutrition. So as chiropractors, we get 2 years worth of nutrition, more than medical doctors do, still to this day by a lot. And I remember I got mono over Christmas my junior year of college, and I was very, very, very sick with mono. And so I got back to school finally and went to see the chiropractor, told him absolutely nothing, just was lying there, you know, doing what patients do. And, you know, I wasn't really paying attention. And he finally said to me, Vikki, what's wrong with your liver and your spleen for that matter? And I sort of came out of my fog wherever I was, and I'm like, how did you know? I said, I had mono. And he's like, oh, good, you had me worried. I'm like, yeah, but how did you come up with that with me just lying here? So he was checking, you know, acupressure points and muscle testing through kinesiology. He was doing his thing, and it was pretty darn accurate because I had told him absolutely nothing, and he figured it out. And I was pretty impressed by this. And so, long story short, started researching chiropractic, started researching nutrition, and kind of had a bit of an epiphany. There was also a night in a hospital with a friend where he was on call. He was a medical student, and I sort of followed him around on call. And that particular night, there was an individual with congestive heart failure. So this was a very, very ill man. He was never able to leave the hospital. But that night, his lungs started filling up with fluid. He couldn't breathe, and my friend gave him a very strong diuretic, Lasix, and you know, several hours later, he was up and conversing with us, and you know, sort of like, oh, high five, great, the guy, you know, we saved his life tonight. And I was like, wow, yeah, that's fabulous. But that feeling of happiness or euphoria over seeing this man sort of come back from the brink was followed very quickly by yeah, but he's never going to leave the hospital. This man is so ill. He is going to die here. He's not really long for this world. And so a little voice in my head said, what if we had gotten to him 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even 15 years ago? What could we have done to prevent where he is right now? And that's where the whole get to the root cause and get to people earlier, if possible, kind of started fermenting a little bit in me. Also, by this point, I decided to go to chiropractic school and pursue nutrition instead of go to medical school. And I personally suffered, I stopped passing out when we saw the nutritionist, so that was great. But I suffered from terrible migraines, as my mother had, terrible cramps with my menstrual period, terrible PMS. So that whole area was not very pretty. And having had 3 children now, I know that the kind of cramps I had every month were definitely on par with being in labor. So it was pretty intense pain, and I would go through it for about 2 or 3 days. I'd have PMS for a good week. So, you know, a good half my life was spent with hormonal imbalance that wasn't pretty. And started to figure it out when I was in chiropractic school, and when I literally no longer had any cramps or any migraines. I then got to work on my mom, and she stopped having migraines, and all was in this nutrition arena. And in chiropractic for that matter too. But mostly it was change in diet and nutrition that made such a huge difference. And so I was very excited about this, and it's really just sort of blossomed from then. And then fast forward to having 3 children, the youngest of which we discovered was gluten sensitive, and that started that journey. But where we are today is at an interesting time when healthcare is really changing in this country. It's going much more towards socialized medicine with the changes as of this month, January 2014, with the government changes, and being reimbursed from insurance companies has gotten cut about 20 to 30% in my arena. People's ability to see a doctor that they want to see is starting to get compromised. I had a very long talk with an insurance director at a large national insurance company just the other day, and my insurance director and this person were on the phone, and what we learned was the government really doesn't want this type of care. They don't want root cause medicine. They don't want to pay for someone to change their diet. They want to wait until you're really ill, and then they give you drugs, which really makes no sense to me because it's so much cheaper if you do prevention. But that's just not where they want to go. They want to go to the more socialized medicine model. And I want to ask you what you want for yourself. I mean, if you're someone who has always just sort of taken a pill, and if the symptom goes away for a while, you know, you're happy, and the fact that drugs have side effects and long-term you're actually getting sicker over time is not something that you just want to think about. You know, you just want to put it aside and take that pill and feel better. If you're that type of person, you're maybe not even listening to this video, but you're probably pretty happy with the change in healthcare. But if you're in more this camp of prevention, and when you have a problem, really finding out why, what's your body trying to tell you, what can you do to really correct it, someone who really appreciates this machine and how incredible it is. If you're that type of person, I want to hear from you, because I really want to know if this type of healthcare is important. Like, having the option for this type of healthcare, is that what you want? Is that what you want for your children? Is that what you want for your future? I don't know if you've ever spoken to anybody in countries such as Great Britain or Canada where they have socialized medicine, but I hear from these people regularly through my blog and after videoing like this, and they tell me they can't even get a test unless they're really in a very acute, very, very ill situation. They can't get tests just to find out something, or if they are set up for some sort of procedure, it can be months, if not a year, or sometimes 18 months before they get that procedure. What's happening to you in the meantime is you're just holding your breath, waiting to find out. I mean, things that we take for granted here in the U.S., very soon might be things of the past unless we really fight for it. So I want to fight for root cause medicine. I want to fight for the way I treat patients because I know it's right. I absolutely know it's right. And I'm not saying people don't need hospitals. They absolutely need hospitals. I mean, my first child was a cesarean. We both would be dead right now if it wasn't for a wonderful surgeon. So there are moments, absolutely, but it's not in the area of degenerative disease such as cancer and diabetes and heart disease, these things that we know are lifestyle based. You need to come in there with a lifestyle change to change these degenerative diseases and to have them be less prevalent in this country. Look at obesity starting in our children. These are changes we have to make in a day-to-day lifestyle moment, not just swallow a pill and hope it all goes away. So I really wanted to talk about this, because I've been asked to, but this end bit, I really want to hear from you what you think and give me feedback, because I really want to help us still have this option available in the future. So if you feel strongly about it as I do, let me know. And I have some exciting plans for this type of healthcare in the future, but I really want to know if it's needed and wanted. I know I want it, and I want it for my children and their children, and hopefully you want it too, but let me know, okay? So it's been great talking to you, and until next time, I wish you very good health.